What is good? What is up? It's Jordan or Texans Thoughts, and I'm back with another video. Today, I'm going to break down Maliek Collins. The Texans free agent defensive tackle has had an interesting career that brings up a lot of question marks regarding how good of a signing he actually is. But I'm here to explain why, he didn't live up to expectations with the Las Vegas Raiders and how the Texans can get Collins back to playing at his normal disruptive level like when he was in Dallas. Collins is one of the biggest keys for a Texans defensive turnaround, and he plays a pivotal position in Lovie Smith's scheme. If all of that interests you, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video, and as per usual, let's break down the film of Maliek Collins because the film don't lie. Let's start at the beginning. Collins was a third-round draft pick by the Dallas Cowgirls in 2016. Where he lacks a bit in size, he makes up for with athletic ability. Collins was always deemed as a bit raw, but if he could improve his technique, watch out. He had 4 solid seasons as primarily a pass-rushing defensive tackle who could get after the quarterback due to great athleticism and flashes of great technique. In those first 4 seasons, he racked up 14.5 sacks, 108 pressures, 91 hurries, and 53 quarterback hits. A damn good stat line for a defensive tackle who averaged just 62% snap count. Dallas knew Collins' strengths and allowed him to play his game, which yielded good results. Collins' bread and butter is getting after the quarterback, so how does he defeat the offensive lineman in front of him? Let's go to the film. The first thing that stands out to me about Collins is his explosive first step. He's usually the first man to fire off the snap, and that gives him an instant advantage. The right guard is lucky here that he got help from the right tackle, but once that help left, he was screwed. Collins does a good job of linking his hands and feet here, grabbing hold of the guard's jersey and moving to Collins' right, which is the guard's left, then shoving the guard that way and changing his own direction in the opposite way. Baker Mayfield stood no chance. The second thing that led to success for Collins was his finesse pass rush moves. He's a bit streaky with it, but when they connect, paired with his explosive first step, he wins so quickly. Collins displays a wide arsenal of advanced moves to attack, here showing a stutter club rip versus Shaq Mason. Collins starts his rush to his left and gives a little head stutter and jab step in the opposite direction of where he actually wants to attack. That gets Mason leaning in the wrong direction. But Collins isn't done just yet. He uses his right arm to club at Mason's inside arm, the arm he's trying to use to slow down Collins. While Mason is trying to recover without holding, Collins finishes the move by ripping up with his left arm, flinging Mason off of himself and bringing down Tom Brady. The club rip and the spin move are Collins' most effective pass rush moves, and I get it. If he showed so much potential early in his career, why did it disappear in Vegas? While there are a lot of factors to consider, we'll get to them in a minute, but the idea of less is more holds true for Collins. What you'll notice on all these Dallas clips is that they allowed Collins to play the 3-tech defensive tackle position and just asked him to rush versus one guard with no funny business. No stunts, loops, exchanges, or games that defensive coordinators love to call to scheme up pressure. That's not Collins' strength, as I'll show you later with Vegas, but he was great at a simple, normal rush versus one guard where he could use his finesse moves. The 3-tech defensive tackle position gives him the space he needs to make his moves effective. In a 4-3 defense, what Lovie Smith has run all his career and what the Texans will likely run, it depends heavily on this 3-tech defensive tackle to create havoc. They align essentially 3 alignments away from the center, on the outside shoulder of the guard. This simple alignment gives Collins the ability to rush one-on-one and not have to deal with double teams. It works because this tackle needs to respect the defensive end, so he can't help versus Collins. And the center needs to help versus this 1-tech defensive tackle, who is usually a bigger defensive tackle that requires help, and will sometimes rush right into the center to occupy them. So both of the right guard's neighbors are occupied, thus he's on an island and a storm is brewing. Dallas understood that this was the best way to utilize Collins' athletic gifts and finesse moves. He's someone who wasn't the biggest or strongest dude, he wasn't going to consistently bull rush 320 plus pound interior offensive linemen, so they gave him that space to work with and asked him to do what he's good at. Simple game plan, but an effective one. Instead of following the game plan that the Cowboys had shown for 4 damn years, the Raiders decided to do something stupid because, well, they're stupid. Recently fired defensive coordinator Paul Guenther was responsible for ruining many once talented defenders because he was too adamant about fitting players into his scheme rather than the other way around. Sound familiar? Corey Littleton, Lamarcus Joyner, and Maliek Collins were all coming off career years when they signed with Vegas, but they've all just had their worst year yet, thanks to Guenther. Collins in particular racked up just 15 tackles, 1 quarterback hits, and no sacks in 12 games. So let's look at how Guenther used Collins horribly. Firstly, the Raiders played Collins at the wrong defensive tackle position, 1 tech, instead of 3 tech, way too often. This caused him to see many more double teams, which 95% of defensive tackles just won't beat in the passing game. In addition, the Raiders often tried to get too cute, and even played Collins at nose tackle on occasion. This was a common 3rd down sub package for them, sliding Collins inside and asking him to be the setup man on stunts for other defenders. The concept of stunts in general aren't bad, but when you don't have the personnel to run them effectively, or they're not coached properly, you're just wasting your time and doing too much. Collins wasn't great at being the setup man, and his teammates weren't great at helping finish the play either. Even when they lined Collins up at 3 tech instead of 1 tech or nose tackle, they didn't give him the chance to just rush versus 1 guard very often. They were still asking him to run stunts. Here's a tackle end stunt, meaning the tackle goes first, then the end. Collins is supposed to rush upfield and take on the guard and tackle, while the end rushes upfield too, but then cuts across and gets an open lane to the quarterback because these offensive linemen are occupied. Instead, Clelin Ferrell instantly rushes inside, showing no patience, and the center sees it coming the entire way. Far too often, Paul Guenther was asking his defenders to do something they just weren't good at, and hoping they would magically improve throughout the season. Stunts and defensive games like these require chemistry and cohesion, something that this cast of new players simply hadn't built up yet. So Collins was held hostage in an ineffective defensive scheme that minimized his strengths and magnified his weaknesses. Like I mentioned before, Collins, he's not the most powerful dude. He'd rather go kind of around you than through you. But as the setup guy in a tackle and stunt, you need to crank the power up to 11. Not every defensive tackle is built to do that, and it's okay if your defensive coordinator recognizes that. Guenther did not, and he got fired for exactly that, not understanding how to maximize his personnel. Watching Collins' Raiders film was purely painful. Almost every 3rd down they would run some ineffective variation of these stunts and it never worked. Collins is a guy who finishes plays rather than creating them for others. Using a basketball analogy, he's more of a spot-up shooting 2 guard than a floor general point guard. Don't ask him to set up his teammates on pick and rolls or stunts. That's not what he's really good at. What he is good at is a simple role. Stand in the corner, wait for your defender to help off you, and nail the 3. Or in football, play 3 tech in space, rush upfield versus the guard, and beat them silly. Collins was no longer able to use his stutter club rip or spin move that he showed success with in Dallas. Instead, his rush path to the quarterback became much longer, wider, and had him in no man's land a lot of the time. Guenther should seriously consider adapting his mindset as a DC because the amount of times Collins was used as a setup guy or contained defender made Collins' reputation fall off a cliff. The rare times Collins did get to play 3 tech and did get to simply rush one-on-one, he showed flashes of his old Dallas self, creating disruption and causing havoc. There's that good old club rip move that allows him to get pressure on the quarterback. So I don't think the good version of Collins is gone forever. He just needs a DC who knows how to use him and won't try to force Collins into a scheme that doesn't work. In addition, while Gunther was the main reason for Collins' down play last year, he also dealt with 2 injuries, both of which he ended up playing through for, essentially the rest of the season. So that also helps explain why Collins' stats were, they were historically bad, and he couldn't sniff the quarterback. However, stats don't tell the whole story, which is what I'm trying to explain here. I mean, you can use them, sure, but they require context, research, and an understanding of what the player was dealing with that gave them an advantage or a disadvantage. In Collins' case, he was at a serious disadvantage all season due to nagging injuries, an idiotic defensive coordinator, and a lack of defensive talent around him, which allowed the ball to be out quickly as the coverage sucked, and his partners on stunts were equally poorly coached and ineffective. Luckily for the Texans, Collins' down year is likely a major reason why we were able to sign him in the first place. If he had another year like he did in Dallas, we probably would have been outbid because his reputation around the league would be completely different. So how can Lovie Smith and the Texans learn from Paul Gunther and the Raiders' mistakes and utilize Collins correctly? Well, that's what this whole video is about. I mean, understanding Collins' strengths and weaknesses allows you to maximize his talents. Play him at 3 tech and let him use his pass rush moves one-on-one instead of stunts, loops, or contains. It's that simple. I've gone this entire video only focusing on one aspect of the game, the passing game. So what about the running game? That's not exactly Collins' strength. It's never been, and that's okay. Just don't put him in those positions very often. Just like how Collins doesn't do well versus double teams in the pass game, he's not the best at holding his ground versus doubles in the run game either. He doesn't play with great pad level, which makes him lose some power at the point of attack, and even when he doesn't have the longest arms to stack and shed blocks. He allows offensive linemen to get into his chest too easily and gets put on the ground more than you'd like. He can make some flash plays for you every once in a while where he looks like he's rushing the passer instead of stopping the run. That same explosive first step and finesse move that give Collins an advantage in the pass game, they show up in the run on occasion too. He won't be consistently sound in his gap discipline, instead knifing through gaps and looking to make big plays. As long as you understand that's what he likes to do and is best at, you can create a game plan around that. The 3 tech defensive tackle position is super important for Lovie Smith's Tampa 2 defense. I'll have to break down the full premise of his defense at a later date, but it depends heavily on the 4 defensive linemen just wreaking havoc. So having an athletic defensive tackle like Maliek Collins can make or break our defense. I hope Lovie has done his research on Collins and can utilize him in these ways that maximize his strengths and minimize his weaknesses. Because if he does, Collins could be the steal of free agency. Alright, that's gonna do it for the video. If you enjoy, please do hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and comment down below your thoughts on Maliek Collins. Take care everyone, come back for more, and remember, the film don't lie!